As to count one, the first-degree murder of Susan Berman, with a special circumstance of intentional killing of a witness pursuant to 190.2810 of the Penal Code, it's the judgment and sentence of this court, Mr. Durst, that you be imprisoned in the state prison for the term prescribed by law, that is, life in prison, without the possibility of parole. As to the special allegation that the defendant intentionally killed Susan Berman by means of lying in wait, as described in 190.2A15 of the Penal Code, the same sentence is imposed and stayed pursuant to Section 654 of the Penal Code. As to the allegation that the defendant personally and intentionally used a firearm in the commission of this offense, causing great bodily injury and death, pursuant to 12022.53D of the California Penal Code, the court imposes a term of 25 years to life in prison. Mr. Durst, you have a right to appeal from this sentence. If you wish to appeal, you must file a written notice of appeal with the clerk of this court within 60 days from today. If you appeal and you're unable to hire a lawyer, the appellate court will appoint a lawyer to represent you on appeal at no cost to you. Is there anything further from the parties?
No, Your Honor. No, Your Honor.
Very well. The defendant, Robert Durst, is committed to the custody of the sheriff for delivery to the Department of Corrections forthwith. Department 81 is adjourned.
It's the trademark clothing of an iconic leader. And now Nelson Mandela's exuberant shirts are among around 100 of his possessions being put up for auction. The items are being sold by the family of the late South African president to help fund a memorial garden. The Nelson Mandela Freedom Garden will be located in Kunu in South Africa's Eastern Cape, where the anti-apartheid leader is buried. His daughter, Dr. Makaziwe Mandela, says she feels a responsibility to fulfill her father's wish of generating tourism in that area.
Yeah, it is hard, but at the same time, when it comes to the shirts, and my father had lots of shirts. Lots of shirts.
The shirts going under the hammer were worn on formal occasions, including to meet Britain's Queen Elizabeth. 10 of the shirts are on display at the New York Fashion Institute of Technology's museum for 3 weeks. The museum's deputy director, Patricia Mears.
These shirts, the Madiba shirts, are much more than a fashion statement. They are about our entire world, how we view the world, how we want to advance our society and our cultures.
The auction is being held live and online by New York-based Guernseys. Its president, Arlen Ettinger, said one of the lots is a 4-page letter written by Mandela while he was imprisoned on Robben Island.
You can see how patiently he wrote this out, and then here it is, the stamp from Robben Island prison. The letter was written to the commanding officer of Robben Island prison.
Other belongings being sold include gifts from former US President Barack Obama and other world leaders, as well as Mandela's briefcases and glasses.
It's the judgment and sentence of this court, Mr. Durst, that you be imprisoned in the state prison for the term prescribed by law, that is, life in prison, without the possibility of parole.
A judge sentenced Robert Durst, the 78-year-old heir to a real estate fortune, to life in prison on Thursday, after a jury convicted him of murdering his best friend in 2000. Judge Mark Wyndham.
Susan Berman was an extraordinary human being. I personally wish I could have known her. I feel I got to know her vicariously, far too late and under terrible circumstances, but she was an extraordinary human being. And killing her was a terrible loss to our community.
Durst spent much of the past 4 decades evading the prosecutors, ever since his wife Kathleen McCormick Durst went missing in New York in 1982. In 2003, he was tried and acquitted of murdering and dismembering his neighbor in Texas after he claimed he acted in self-defense. In his latest trial, Los Angeles County prosecutors alleged he killed his friend Susan Berman because she helped provide a false alibi for Durst in his wife's disappearance, and he feared she would reveal that to authorities. Durst denied the murder when he took the stand in his own defense back in August.
Bob? Did you kill Susan Berman?
No,
Do you know who did?
no, I do not.
A Los Angeles County jury found him guilty of shooting Berman in the back of the head in her Beverly Hills home. The trial came 6 years after an HBO television documentary, The Jinx, rekindled the case. The show included an apparent murder confession caught on a mic when Durst didn't know he was being recorded.
The House Select Committee probing the deadly January 6th assault on the U.S. Capitol said on Thursday that Steve Bannon had refused to cooperate with its investigation and that it would convene on Tuesday to vote on holding the longtime Trump advisor in criminal contempt. The committee's chairman, Democrat Benny Thompson, said in a statement, quote, "The Select Committee will not tolerate defiance of our subpoenas, so we must move forward with proceedings to refer Mr. Bannon for criminal contempt." An attorney for Bannon could not be reached immediately for comment. The subpoena to Bannon is one of more than a dozen issued by the Democratic Select Committee, with some depositions scheduled as soon as this week. It was not immediately clear whether any former aides to Donald Trump would appear after the former president urged them to refuse to cooperate. Trump claims the documents and testimony the committee is seeking is protected by executive privilege and must be kept confidential. Bannon, who served as Trump's chief strategist in the White House but had not been working there for more than 3 years when the Capitol was attacked, has refused to comply with the subpoena until the committee reaches a deal with Trump or a court weighs in. 3 other close Trump allies, Mark Meadows, Dan Scavino, and Kash Patel, have received similar subpoenas, but the extent of their cooperation was unclear.
So we do have a unanimous 19 out of 19 yes votes.
A panel of expert advisors to the U.S. Food and Drug Administration unanimously voted 19-0 on Thursday to recommend booster shots of Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine for Americans aged 65 and older and those at high risk. If the FDA signs off on Moderna's booster, the CDC will make specific recommendations on who should get the shots. CDC advisors are scheduled to meet next week. A special FDA committee met on Thursday to consider the additional dose of the Moderna vaccine and will weigh whether to make a similar recommendation for Johnson & Johnson's vaccine on Friday. Moderna is seeking authorization of a booster that contains 50 micrograms of vaccine, half the strength of its regular dose, but still higher than the Pfizer shot. Like the Pfizer booster, the shots will be administered to people at least 6 months after the initial 2-shot inoculation. U.S. health officials have been under pressure to authorize COVID-19 vaccine booster doses after the White House announced in August it planned a widespread booster campaign. The FDA and the CDC signed off on Pfizer boosters for certain high-risk adults last month. Since then, nearly 9 million people have received a third shot, according to the CDC.